All right, guys, so picking up where we left off, we're chapter 4-2 today, and let's go ahead and get rolling with that. All right, so to start things off, take a second, read the article here, click on it. It's in today's worksheet, or you can click on today's slides. Read through the article and answer the sections there under the warm-up/review section on your worksheet. All right, pause me, go do that, and then come on back. All right, now just as a quick review, how to cite a source, okay? Because you guys are going to be working on this research project. If you haven't finished it already, remember you've got to have 3 credible sources. Now, how to cite a source? You're just going to use regular MLA, and once again, easybib.com is your best one. You're going to go under Create Citations. You're going to choose website because I'm not going to make you guys use a book for this, and then was the moon landing real? Okay. If we know it is tied to, and let's say NASA should be, right? A credible institution if it's tied. Control C allows you to copy that URL, and then you're just going to simply copy and paste that into here. And it will cite your source for you. Now, if you notice, like for example, this one doesn't have everything. So when you hit continue, we want to look for all of yours should at least have an author. So if we look at here, we want to see if we can find an author that wrote this. In this case, there actually may not be one. So I'd actually want you to go in there and find one, mainly because if we look, this isn't really an article as much as an overview. So we'd go back and find a different one. So what do we know that went to the moon? Go in here, look through that, because I want you to find some credible sources. But same thing, you would fill in, and it is very self-explanatory on how to do that. Okay, so make sure you do that. After that, you'll complete the citation, and you'll be able to copy it. Now, if I look and I see this when I'm grading your stuff, not going to be as well if I see this because this has obviously more of the information. Okay, now that one's very similar there. Okay, so anyway, there is that. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this out and let's keep rolling on how to cite a source. Now, we've already talked about it. These are the questions you must answer, and it's about why. All right, so for example, if you're given Facebook, you're gonna say, all right, who created Facebook? When? Why? You go through that. You may have one source that answers all of these questions. You still have to have 3 credible sources. All right, moving on. Still deciding on how to have you guys present. Probably going to be screencastify, or you may not present at all, and you may just submit this. I'll let you guys know as I know. Expect to see that in the classroom. All right, so website content. Remember, we went over that yesterday. It is the raw text, the images, and other elements that go into the creation of a web page. All right, it's the parts of a web page. All right, meanwhile, the website structure is how it is set. You may hear me refer to it as the website hierarchy. Okay, that's how things are broken apart and created there. All right, the different parts there. So from homepage, you may go to something else, and it breaks down into different pieces. We'll get a little bit further more into that later on. Now, what makes reliable information different? So now if you've made it to this part of the video, hopefully you have already done your warm-up section, and I'm going to do that. Now, to summarize how I thought it should be taken, reliable information, you know it's reliable because it comes from a variety of reputable or credible sources to create a well thought out statement or idea that is current and up to date. It's not considering all the old information. It needs to be with up to date with everything we have at our disposal from credible sources. Next, 4 things to identify. Once again, back to your article questions. All right, 4 things that it highlighted was authority. Who is giving you this information? The accuracy. Is everything they're saying accurate to our knowledge and what we know and concurrent with your other sources? Coverage. Does it cover all sides, or is there like things that they don't mention to make sure their idea seems better? Is it current? All right. Is it up to date with everything we know, or things to check for? And then, why is it important to find reliable information? This is very important because right now we really do live in an age of misinformation, a time period where the wrong thing or lie spread faster generally than the truth. So it's important to make sure so that we're not part of the problem. So think about that. Make sure you've led through that and answer that how you see fit. All right, now jumping into the lecture for today. To start things off, once again, you guys in just a second will want to pause me. You're going to click on this link. You're going to look through some poorly made examples. Now, this will tell you some of the issues that they see with it, but I also want you to see why you would consider that a poorly made website. Okay, look through those examples and give me about a 2-sentence description why you think it's poorly made and why you wouldn't consider it a credible site. Now, generally, how to determine if a website is credible, you're going to, first of all, you're going to look at when it was published, right? One key thing of reliable information. You want to see if it's tied to a credible institution. So especially, for example, if you don't see an author and it's a full thing, you can tie it back and get by with it by tying it to a credible institution, because they're not going to publish something they don't believe to be factual or isn't factual. Also, beware of bias. So if you don't know what bias is, that is the idea of saying things or omitting information or certain things so that it makes your viewpoints look better. Okay, generally the best way to kind of consider this is, you see this a lot in politics. Okay, so be aware of that, or leaning one way or wording things a certain way to make what your thoughts are seem better. Check for an author and their credibility, right? Make sure they have the credentials. If I'm not going to go ask a doctor on how to build a house. They know more about human anatomy, not construction. Okay, so make sure what an author is. Even though they have a doctorate, make sure their information and their knowledge base is in the correct field that you're looking at. And always consider the links. If you go to a website and there's a bunch of ads popping up or links to different things, generally that's not going to be a credible site. Now, one other big thing to consider is a website that checks all of those boxes is generally going to be easy to maneuver. All right, it's going to be, information is going to be well organized, because they want to be able to be known that, hey, we can go here, find our information. My name is, all right, this is where I got my information, so that you know it is reliable. This is because the more organized and more structured it is, the more professional it is appear, and the easier it is going to be to find that information. All right, once again, to talk about it, HTML, when we're talking about website, HTML is the language, hypertext markup language, used to create websites, web pages. Okay. Now, when we get into this, HTML tag, if you look here, this is a closing tag. This is an opening tag. A tag, HTML tag, is what indicates the beginning and end of an HTML element. The element is this whole line of code there. Okay. So opening tag, ending tag, and if you notice, the difference between the opening and closing is the opening, you have the greater than, less than symbol there. So we have less than P, greater than, right? To opening tag. On the flip side, the only difference is when you have a closing tag, there's always going to be that slash, that forward slash there to indicate a closing tag. The element, once again, is that piece of a website that is marked by the opening and ending of a tag. That element is that line. Okay. What is the purpose of HTML? What kind of information does a computer need to create a web page? We're actually going to look at that on the next slide. You're going to have the access to a HTML editor that you should play with. But two things you want to utilize or know about HTML is that it uses a tag system that we just talked about to surround content. Okay, so to know what that is, HTML uses a tag system, all right, to surround content. The second thing is that HTML indicates what and how something is displayed. So HTML will determine how things are displayed. So those are your two things there. So first of all right, uses a tag system and indicates what and how things are displayed. All right, so this is an example of what HTML looks like. Now I guess lucky or unlucky, to some of you would like to learn this way. We're going to do it a little bit simpler way using Google Sites. This is how HTML looks. So if we look over here, you can see the end of this. So we have up top, there would be the opening tag, which would be, or your beginning tag, which would be your less than title, all right, greater than symbol, and then you have the content here. You can see as you go down here, your heading 1, there we go. Your image, opening and closing, is a little different. P for paragraph, so this is where you can see first paragraph, beginning of your second paragraph. Therefore, that's what it looks like. Now, You're not going to go into a ton of code. I have you guys know the paragraph code. But other than that, you guys are going to go in here and click on this HTML editor and play with it a little bit. So if you want to, you can click demo and it automatically have things in here. Don't click on any of the ads. Some of it is removed, but it goes in there and allows you to play with that. Now, if you want to try and get rid of it, you can go back and not necessarily do it that way, but you can actually clean this all out to where you can start from scratch, or click demo if once you clean it out, you delete it, it's all gone. Okay, so you guys play around with that, explore, and leave me with a couple sentences about what you found in that. Okay, that is what you guys have for today. If you have any time left over after you complete today's worksheet, you should be working on that project that was introduced yesterday, that we will see back here in this slide, based on whichever one you choose. All right, you guys can choose that from that list there. Make sure you get that website project completed, and I'll have a place for you to submit that. All right, that's all you got for today, guys.